You're listening to the Soju Sessions, episode 37 on the SojuTalk Nation podcast feed. I'm your host, Crispy, also known as Crispy Wonton, or simply just Anton, and a few housekeeping things at the very top of the show. First, I'm hosting a brand new show called The Nerdverse Adventures, where I'll be having in-depth discussions with members of the nation and even my friends from my own life on all things in nerd genre storytelling. Warren joins on episode 1, and we go pretty in depth and a pretty rich conversation on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. It was an incredible time, so please check it out. Follow on YouTube, subscribe, do all the social media things. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. So again, find the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Second, on today's show, Ellie joins us on an introspective look back as we reflect on K-pop through the years and how K-pop has gotten her through the pandemic. The pandemic's been really tricky for a lot of people, and it was kind of a nice kind of endpoint, kind of button to put it here in December, mid-December, as we're going into the holidays, going into the end of the year. And, Ellie is relatively new to the SojuTalk Nation, and it was nice to kind of hear her story, her journey, as well as kind of seeing how she's kind of grown over the past few months, being a very active member, letting her presence be known, but we're all very happy and excited to have her around. So yeah, just definitely excited to talk to her coming up. And finally, on the main show, they are taking a break. So the SojuTalk Nation podcast is also taking a break. New music and discussion, as well as the December 2021 K-pop recap, will be coming in January. Yes, that is the new year. But we're excited to get everything together and kind of launch things off with kind of a refresher, right? I do feel like taking a break is good for everyone, and it's good to see your friends and family over the next couple of weeks. I do want to thank everyone for tuning in this year to the SojuTalk Nation podcast. It's really meant a lot for me to have a platform to share the many stories from all the familiar names and faces across the SojuTalk Nation. And, it means a lot that, we get to hear the voices and really attach to the stories and the journeys of everyone. And I feel like it allows us to be a little bit more connected, and allows whatever it is we're doing with K-pop to be that much more purposeful and present. So thank you everyone for joining, and just looking forward to the new year. See you all next year. Coming up, my chat with Ellie on the Soju Sessions. Joining Soju Sessions, one of the lovelier members of the SojuTalk Nation. She formerly went by Carrot Cake Lady, but has since just become a complete food connoisseur and baker, and shares all the amazing pictures of all the things she likes to make. She is part of the Gochu gang. We've got Ellie. Welcome to the show,
Hi.
Ellie.
Hi.
It's
Good to
really,
see you.
yeah, it's really nice to have you. I know you are
Oh,
one of the
thanks.
newer members to the Discord server.
hmm
And then very soon after, you became a patron, and you were part of all of the antics that go on the previously known as the Harold's Homies channel, now the Gochi Gang. And I just feel like you are in touch with a lot of things that are happening on the server. So I figured it'd be nice to get you on to get to know you a little bit deeper, who you are and what your story is all about. So yeah, thanks
Well,
for
thank
joining.
you.
Yeah.
No, no problem. I actually joined the server at the same time that I became a Patreon supporter. I think that's how it worked. Like, I don't know what prompted me to become a Patreon supporter, but I was like, okay.
You just had the urge to
I
help
just,
financially support this trio of amazing hosts that we have on the main show, Doug, Warren, and
yeah,
Anita, and they felt the energy
I
of you
did.
entering the space immediately, and we all
I was,
did, because honestly, it's a testament to you that you are very social and that you're able to kind of find your way into different conversations
mhm.
throughout the server. I know sometimes we jokingly look up the levels of the number of messages we've sent. I know Doug has a bot that had calculated that recently. You are in the top like
Yeah,
20, I believe, top
something
15,
like that. I think I was like top 10 or something.
top
Like
10.
it was
I
kind of scary.
checks out. Yep. And
Uh,
you've only been on the server for less than 6 months, I believe.
yeah, I think I joined back in August, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
been, yeah, less than 6 months.
well, it's been nice having you.
Mm,
But
oh,
yes, let's get to know
thanks.
you a little bit more. So we've all come here to the Soju Talk K-pop podcast Discord server
Mhm,
because of K-pop. So
mhm.
Ellie, let's start from the beginning. What are your origins with K-pop? When did you first listen to K-pop, and what were your first introduction groups in your formative years when that all began?
Okay, so this is kind of a longer history than I had imagined. So I have a friend who has been like into Korean culture and music for like ever since Shiny. So back then when we were just starting our friendship, like it didn't really interest me, the whole K-pop and Korean thing. Like I thought it was cool. I was like, oh, okay, you're interested in that stuff. That's neat. That's a you thing. Um, but then flash forward to 2017. So in 2017, I started doing Zumba at home, and I remember that this one YouTube channel, they're from the Philippines, and they would integrate K-pop songs to the tracks that they would do the routines for. One of which was Mic Drop. They did Mic Drop, and then so I think Blackpink was in there. But that never interested me into looking at who was singing the songs. Then I actually saw BTS on the, I think, American Music Awards that same fall. I saw them on TV. I remember being in my living room with like my family, and I was like, "Who are these people? Like, this is so random." um, and I watched, but I didn't really pay attention. So then, moved to I guess April of 2018. I'm doing the same Zumba videos, and I did mic drop. And for some reason, something like told me like, "Oh, why don't you look up like who are actually singing this song?" So I looked up mic drop and BTS, and the music video came up. So then I watched the music video. Then the next suggested song was Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and then that's when it really got bad. So yeah, so from then on, like I would stay up until like 4 or 5 in the morning watching all these videos, and I'm just like just drawn in by all the energy, by the difference that was K-pop versus what I was listening to here in the States. So I guess that was my intro basically. I got sucked in with
Uh,
BTS.
First of all, amazing that BTS songs are featured on Zumba videos.
Yeah.
I just know that Zumba is just high energy music, and it's a lot of people wilding out to like
Hmm.
choreography and a lot of high movement that I cannot
Yes.
do. So props to you for being able to do that. Um,
Thank you.
Even bigger props that it's a BTS song, because I'm sure there is some incorporation of the actual choreography in addition to like the Zumba moves. I know
Hmm.
Zumba has a very specific style of movement and dance.
Yeah. Like a lot
Um,
of repetitive dancing.
yeah,
Like a lot
yeah.
of repetitive moves.
Yeah, and it's a pace that just keeps going for like half an hour,
Hmm.
45 minutes. And then also a big shout out to my people, the Philippines. Yes, of
Yeah.
course we of course we did that. Of course we put K-pop into Zumba videos because that's the kind of stuff that we do. We're just very extra like that. So I'm glad that our extra culture aligns very well with Hispanic culture. I think
Hmm.
those two things align super well. And then the rabbit hole that is YouTube.
Yes.
So after
Yes.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Do you remember kind of the journey you went through on YouTube, or did you kind of just black out and
Um,
go into a spiral of all BTS?
I think that's what happened. Like it was a spiral because like you know how there are those crackhead videos that people make. So like I watched some of those just to figure out names and stuff. I was first drawn in by Namjoon because he was rapping in English in the music video. And I was like, oh, this guy speaks English. Like, I didn't realize that. So then that's when I got into Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And that's when I noticed Taehyung because of just the visual aspect. Because he's a very beautiful man um, that I will forever simp over. Um, so that's what happened. And then what happened after that? I think at that time, I think that I had already gotten Spotify Premium. So I was able to get like all the songs on there. And then I think I did like BTS radio on there or something like that. And then that's when I found like Blackpink and Stray Kids and some other groups that I can't remember right now. I think Big Bang was on there too. So yeah. So yeah, I could tell you right now I probably blacked out and there's just a lot of videos. And if I went back in that history, because you can go back that far on YouTube, um, I'm sure there were a lot of like cringeworthy videos that I watched.
How do you feel like that's helped you form relationships and friendships with other people who listen to K-pop, um, and even people who are fairly new to K-pop? I know it's gotten really big over the past 3 to 4 years. A
Mhm.
number of varieties of backgrounds and histories with music and exposure to Asian culture, Korean culture, have just blossomed, and it's kind of
Mhm.
amazing that it's become this global sensation. But take me through it. How did it help the relationship you had with that one friend that you said started you off, and then the friendships that you've gained afterwards, and how have those grown?
So with the friend that was into Korean culture and K-pop, she kind of fell off for a little bit. Like I guess just life in general. Like she didn't listen to as much K-pop. And then when she found out that I was into BTS and into K-pop in general, she was like, "Oh my gosh, no way!" Like people used to make fun of me all the time when I used to listen and stuff. Um, but now you're into it. And then she slowly started coming back into it again. And she actually went to the BTS concert in LA with one of her friends. So yeah, so with her, we do talk a lot more about K-pop and we do hang out. She lives about 2 hours away from me. So whenever she does come over on this side of the Florida coast, um, she usually stays a weekend with me and we'll like go out to Korean barbecue, or go get boba, something like that, or watch music videos on TV. So that's always fun. As for new friendships, so with BTS, I didn't actually like go into Twitter and like find friends there. I found friends through the Amino app, and that alone is some people can cringe at that too. And so I joined an 18 plus chat because I was like, okay, older people, like I'm not gonna go sit and talk to like, a 15-year-old, although I can on here. But on there at the time, I was just like, I want to talk to people who are older or like my age. And so I started talking to people there, and I actually found one of my best friends on the Amino app. She lives all the way in Texas, fortunately. So we don't see each other as often, but because of that app, uh, we did get to forge a friendship, and I met her in person the first time in 2019, before the pandemic even started. And yeah, ever since, like we've been really good friends. And so, in terms of other friendships, just like the ones here on the server, I just start talking to people, and that's it. Like I like to comment on whatever people are saying. I like to make mental notes of what certain people will say just so that I can keep that in like my backlog of things about that person. Just because I think that, we're all individuals and I want to make sure that the person feels like the individual that they are. So yeah, so I just want to make everybody feel like they're heard and that um, they're not just shouting things into the void of this server. you know? And that's why I have such a high level on here because I just could just keep talking.
It shows a lot of empathy and a great
Yes.
compassion for a
Yeah.
lot of people because I do feel like
Hmm.
it's very easy to get lost on the internet when it's just through text. When you're just
For sure.
seeing words detached from a human body, a human voice,
Mhm.
detached from eye contact and body language. And
Yeah.
I think it does speak more into your ability to tap into that, especially during a time over the past 2 years where this was the only place people can gather and get socialization. But then you do
Mhm.
run the risk of being a little bit too detached from reality because this is the only place we're able to congregate in. But yeah, I do think I do want to celebrate you in the sense that you are able to unconditionally tap into different areas on the server with different people, different types of people, and different interests. And I think
Mhm.
that is a big reflection on the inclusiveness of what fandoms can be, whether that's in K-pop, whether that's in movies or comic book movies, or just anything that has a really big following. You do a nice job of at least representing kind of the upper limits of positivity that I feel like people can take
I,
note of.
I try.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, let's jump into the server and Soju Talk. So
Oh.
Soju Talk, the podcast, the main show,
Hmm.
Doug, Orrin, and Anita, amazing, excellent human beings, three of which I think have done so much to bring us into this style of conversation with friends,
Hmm.
with real people. And it's just so nice to hear them every week on the podcast and then translating that into the space that we're in, the Discord server specifically. How did you find the podcast? And then how did you find the Discord? And what was that like for you the first few days coming into a space with so many people to talk to?
So I think I found the podcast sometime in 2020, when I think quarantine, excuse me, when quarantine first started. Um, I think what I was looking for, or maybe even before that, maybe it was before quarantine. It had to be sometime in the beginning of 2020. Because I was looking for something to listen to that was, I guess, K-pop related, and I think Soju Talk was recommended on my Spotify for uh for my listening pleasure. Um, so I listened to it and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like they are talking about other groups, and I think there were a few times where they mentioned Anita being a flower, and I was like, why do they keep calling her a flower? Like, so confused. And so I think that's how I discovered it. It was just Spotify recommended, and I was like, okay, well, let me listen to it. And I liked it. And so, and then, 2020 passed, and then 2021 came in, and um, I was pretty active on Discord sometime in 2021, I'm pretty sure. That's when I started getting really into Discord because I entered some other servers. And then I was like, well, they have a server, so why don't I just jump into that server and see what that's all about? Um, so yeah, so I think that's how it all happened. Then I became a Patreon. I think you're right about me becoming a Patreon a little later because that's I got the carrot cake lady thing because when I entered the Gochugen channel, you said, "Oh, hey, it's a carrot cake lady." Oh, so that's how I'm gonna be known. Huh?
Yeah, I forgot that I did
So
that. Well, because you had posted a baking photo
I
of,
did.
yeah, of you baking carrot cake, and I love carrot cake.
Hmm.
And then when you entered, I was like, oh, it's carrot cake lady.
Yeah.
As we do, we attach labels to people based on very superficial things,
Yes.
but all
Yes.
lovely things.
Hmm.
Um, let's talk about the relationship between the crew, right? So you have Doug Warren and Anita who've been friends for a long time, all the way back in college, through different growing pains, ups and downs. What is it about their relationship on the show that resonates with you as far as the types of conversations that you prefer within K-pop, within hearing about music and news and up-to-date information? How do they separate themselves from other points of conversation around the internet?
I think it's just how comfortable they are with each other. Like they'll talk about the K-pop stuff. but then they also have the last segment of the show, which is the State of the Nation, which is, just them talking about their personal lives. And I think that's really cool that it's not just strictly like K-pop, Korean stuff, like Korean news, things that are happening on the business side of it. Um, and then that's it. Like you're cut off. Like no, they actually try to include some forms of their personal life. That's pretty cool. So you kind of know, like just little things about them. It's not a complete like, a spillage of all of what who they are in their life. Um, I think it's cool that, I'm assuming they met in college. I think that's what it was, university, and that they've kept this friendship going for for as long as it has been going. Um, I think it's pretty neat when you can have a good circle of friends like that. In psychology, they say that if you're friends with somebody for 7 years, that your friendship will last. And I gotta say that I do have some friendships that are like that, where like we've been friends for so long. Like the one girl that I told you about, we've been friends since like 2015, and I didn't even realize that. I was like, wow, we've been friends for so long. Like it's insane that you can be friends with somebody for so long. So I think I like just how comfortable they are with each other, and that just doesn't feel artificial, I guess. Sometimes podcasts don't sound as natural as they make it sound, I guess. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, there's a very genuine way that they talk to each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we allude to it quite often on the server that it's just friends hanging out. Even though there is a
Mm-hmm.
structure to the show, even though there is a pacing that they need to get through everything, unless the show
Mm-hmm.
becomes like 5 hours, which I think we would all still watch it, by the way. Um,
I will.
but I do appreciate how they bounce off of each other with such great chemistry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they allow themselves to be vulnerable and open, not just through their opinions on music, but with State of the Nation, like you said, with letting the audience, letting us into their lives, and then kind of in a funny way, like being on Discord and then being able to have that immediacy of interaction with them specifically, because I do
Mm-hmm.
think in a lot of cases with content creators, whether that's podcast hosts, YouTube influencers, or just anyone in a space of visibility, there is a level of detachment. There's always a level of healthy detachment that I think is appropriate. But in this
Mm-hmm.
case, Doug, Warren, and Anita are there like every day. They see stuff, they'll react to stuff, and you can talk to them when you have something to say. And they're more than willing and really happy to do so, to respond back. And I think that's just it's a testament to them and a strength. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think because it's the three of them, they have this sense of longevity together in a relationship. And then you brought something that came to mind with kind of like how I view my friendships. Um, my K-pop friends here online are fairly new, and I don't know where I'm going to be in 4 5 years from now, and that'll be around the 7 year mark of knowing them. But I do hope that because the internet is the place that it is today, there is
Mm-hmm.
some level of connection over time, right? And mirroring that with the people in my life that I've gotten to know over the past 10, 15 years and still keep in touch with, I can say there are a handful that I almost treat like family at this point because they've gone through different inflection points in someone's life, right? Um, the pandemic has been very difficult for a lot of people. What were some challenges during the pandemic that you felt the Soju Talk server helped alleviate for you?
Oh, uh, well, there was like one particular thing which uh, happened to me, back in 2020. I lost back in 2020. I lost my grandmother to COVID. And I almost lost both my parents. And they were both in the Dominican Republic at the time that they all got COVID. So that was really difficult. And then something more personal also happened to me um, throughout 2020. So 2021 for me was of a year of healing from all of that, and self reflection. So, during 2020 and I guess half of 2021, I wasn't on the server. So I had to deal with that. Just the only ways that I really could deal with it, which was with my family, and then with my personal friends, like in real life friends. But having the server now during this last pretty much half of the year, it's felt nice just to like talk to people about something that I'm interested in. And then like, just sharing things like, the food that I bake or cook, anything funny that I find, that has me in tears, mostly TikToks. Shout out to Jacob for like sending me all those TikToks because honestly, like a lot of those are really funny. Now I have Ara on there. So Ara, Ara and I go through it on TikTok. Um, yeah, and that too. Like I'm not reserved to just talking to them on the server. Like I also have Shin Boy on Instagram, his photography Instagram, and so I get to see like the cool shots that he's taken. Um, and yeah, and some other people on Instagram too. So yeah, so I like that I've made some friendships on here that aren't simply just on here, and that I've been able to help people too. Like I helped Therese get some tickets for the BTS concert, which I've done once before for somebody else. This time was just much more stressful because of just like four shows, one location, all these people trying to get tickets, including the scalpers. So, that was something. But yeah, so I feel like the server has really helped me just um, reconnect, just find more people to talk to.
Yeah, I want to thank you for
Yeah.
opening up about kind of the personal stuff that
Hmm.
happened with you in COVID. I know it's a very sensitive topic just in general, and like even for me, it's hard to find the words to respond accordingly. But I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that we
Oh,
can
thanks.
provide some of that respite from everything that's happened over the past 2 years.
Hmm.
God, it's weird to say, right? Like we're going into
I
2022,
know.
and I'm saying 2 years. We've been in a global pandemic for 2 years that has affected people greatly in a number of ways.
Hmm.
It feels like a fever dream in a lot of ways. But
Yeah. It feels like 2019 doesn't even feel like it happened.
no,
Like I feel like nothing from my life has happened. Like I'm turning 30 next month, and it still doesn't feel like any of the past 2 to 3 years has even been real. Like it's like, did my birthdays even pass? Like, did I even like
yeah,
am I still 27? Or did
yeah.
we go through all that?
Did life pause? And unfortunately,
Yeah.
it didn't because just a lot of things that are just
No.
unforeseen happened. And
Hmm.
but I am really glad and grateful that you were able to find so many different connections and reconnect,
Hmm.
right, with so many people on the server. Primarily starting through the server, but then spilling over into TikTok. I know Joe Cab is on TikTok all the time and sends a
Oh yeah.
million TikToks to everyone. I go
Yeah.
through it occasionally, Joe Cab. I know he thinks that I ignore them all, even though I look at my notifications, it's like 60 over the past 3 days.
Yes.
You
Oh.
see,
Well, the
I'm
thing,
not the
okay,
only one.
no, this past weekend was the only time where I didn't stay on top of the TikToks he sends me. Because like sometimes I'll wake up to about 10 TikToks, and then like sometimes if work is slow, I'll sit there and I'll watch the ones that you sent me. But this past weekend I've been kind of busy, real life stuff, like personal stuff, and I didn't get a chance to watch them. And when I do look at my notifications, it wasn't just his; it was also my other friends who like to send me TikToks. So I had like a total of like 75 TikToks to look at. And I was like, just to sit here and look through all these, even though it's worth it because I do end up finding some really funny ones. There was one in particular today with the girl and a swimming cap just took the cake for me. Like today, I had to download it because I download the ones that make me laugh a lot so that I can revisit them later if I'm ever really sad about something, and I could just like cry laugh instead of like real life laugh.
Yeah, yeah. um, you know, with everything that we do online, it's an escape, right,
Mhm.
from the weight of reality, the weight of the real world, and personal things that we're all going through. And I think it's a great reminder that there are real people on the other side of that message that you see the screen name for. And, I do feel like because time has been so nebulous, there are often times where I can admit this myself, sometimes I don't see it. Sometimes I don't see that it's a person. And whether that's just ignoring it or whether that's, probably not responding with the most attention that I could give a certain message or a person. Ultimately, I think it's a nice way to reconnect with people when you do give yourself that time to do so. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I do appreciate that I have you on and I can actually see your face and hear your
Yeah,
voice.
yeah.
Um, and I think it's all loops back into how we talk about K-pop, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
think the main reason why the Soju Talk podcast was so attractive as far as a place to get your feelings out about K-pop is because you get to see real people on the other side of that message, on the other side of that opinion. And um, with that growing sense of connection and attachment to real people through the server, I think it's all grown in a number of ways, in a lot of different directions. Some ups and downs, I think, just with any social environment. But ultimately, I think we land in a place where we can have a regular week to week tradition of listening to the three idiots. That's what they call themselves. I swear that's what they call themselves. Talk about K-pop. So it is December 14th. We've got some K-pop music this week on the main
Mm-hmm.
show. We've got 3 songs. We're not going to cover all of them. So we have Lucy, Rolling,
Mm-hmm.
NCTU, Universe, Let's Play Ball, and Ateez The Real. Because
Yeah.
you're the guest of honor. I want you
Oh,
to select your favorite song this week that the crew
oh, my
discussed,
favorite.
and we'll go into it a little bit. Some
Okay.
K-pop talk.
Okay. So, um, wait, I never answered the question where I say who my favorite groups are, like groups that I followed. I don't think I did.
We can. We'll get to that. We'll
Okay.
remind me. We'll loop back to that in
Okay.
closing
Okay.
today.
Sweet. All right.
Promise.
So, my favorite of the three, actually, yeah. Okay. So, I would say Lucy, Rolling. I'll say it's my favorite.
Wow.
At first it was AT's, but then I listened to it again and I was like, okay, so my cousin is into anime and she's recently getting me watching all these animes, which I don't mind. You know, 90s kid, I used to watch Sailor Moon and not Dragon Ball Z, but Sailor Moon. So there was some anime injected into my DNA when I was young. Girl. So she's really into anime. So she got me watching Demon Slayer. And then yeah, and we're caught up. So we've been watching the season. And now Jujutsu Kaisen.
Wait,
Uh,
you're caught up with season 2 as well? Because
mhm.
I'm so behind.
No, we're on top
You
of
are a
it.
true fan. I am so fake. I need to catch up. I need to watch season 2. But yes, I think those right now, Jujutsu
Hmm.
Kaisen and Demon Slayer, are two of the most excellent modern anime to get a new person into it, or to get someone who is
Yes,
familiar to come back to it. I also like to shout out Koro for Tokyo Revengers. Check
I
that
haven't watched
out
it.
if you haven't heard
Okay,
about it, because I too want to watch it and I heard a lot of good things.
okay,
Um,
I'll put that on my mental list.
yeah, but let's get
Um,
into rolling a little bit. So
yeah.
they described it on the show as having a J rock, J pop
Mm-hmm.
feel and sound, with kind of like the electronica with some synths going on,
Yeah.
a lot of interesting composition notes,
Mm-hmm.
and then very visually when you're watching the music video, it feels like an anime introduction. It kind of feels like well, if I'm going to put it in like a K-pop Korean entertainment
Mm-hmm.
standpoint, like Reply 1988, like that period of time,
Mm-hmm.
but then in like big cityscapes and like a lot of camera movements,
Oh,
right?
yes, yes.
How did this entire package, hit you? You mentioned a lot of anime references and reference
Mm-hmm.
points. Was What was the emotions that were coming out of you, and like your overall feelings and takes from this song and music video?
So the song definitely sounds like the opening sequence of an anime, or like the main song for or the main OST for like for one of those Japanese movies. So the Japanese anime movies. So like so they mentioned your name, and once they said that, like I could just imagine it in my head. I was like, yes. And I will tell you, your name did make me cry. Made me cry about 3 times. I did not want to. I'm a sad girl sometimes. So so yeah, so definitely I can feel that. I feel like the adventure, like when the song is playing, and I love the integration of a violin. Like when I was watching the music video, I had no knowledge of Lucy. Like I knew who Lucy was, but I didn't have enough interest to like deep dive myself into Lucy. And I usually listen to the Rose and some of Day Six's music. Um, so when I saw there was a violinist playing, I was like, this is so cool that they have a guy playing the violin. And I think that's what got me like sold because I was like, there's a violin. And for 1 year in elementary school, I played the viola. So I think maybe that's what it was. It was just like you draw my
You had your
attention.
string instrument phase
Yes,
in
I was like,
elementary school. You know
oh.
what? I think we all did. I too picked up the violin for about a year. They introduced it plucking at first,
Hmm,
and you're
hmm.
like, I've never seen this before in my life. Would you are a violin teacher? You are incorrect, sir.
Yes.
So I was just stubbornly trying to like, saw the freaking violin. It's like, oh, this sounds horrendous. Maybe I should learn how to pluck. And then the year went on, and I found other interest because as a kid, attention spans
Hmm,
wane.
hmm.
Um,
That's true.
but I do want to say like that visual cue of seeing a violinist in the music
Hmm,
video to me enhanced the song. I
hmm,
think Warren put it best. He said there is a blending of the violin and guitar that is just done very interestingly well.
hmm,
I can hear it, but I wasn't able to visually see it. I'm a very visual learner. So when
hmm.
I saw it in the music video, I was like, oh, it's making the music come to life for me. I know I'm speaking in like a vague artistic, waxing
Yeah.
poetics, but that is kind of how this song and the strength of this song and music video all become, this complete package.
Hmm,
Um, and you know, I I try to pull up the story of every time I watch a music video. I
hmm.
was just so engulfed in the world that I was just like, I don't care about the
I
story. I
don't.
just love it so much.
I saw colors and I thought I saw blue maybe.
There's just a lot
Uh,
happening in a good way. In a good way.
yes, yes.
Not in a overwhelming way as another song
Hmm,
did this week, but we'll talk about that later. Um, so kind of go into what Doug mentioned about this being his favorite song of the week.
hmm.
What about a song like this kind of strikes you as not just fitting for the style, a K-pop band doing a little bit of J-pop, J-rock, but also the
Hmm,
time of the year? We're going into winter. We've got a lot of winter theming everywhere, whether that's
hmm.
holiday stuff, New Year stuff. Do you feel like this is a great time for a song like this to be released?
I think so because with the Christmas songs are usually like um, how do I describe it?
Is it kind of
Christmas songs are
cheesy,
usually, yeah, they can be cheesy,
kind of
but then they can be,
campfirey? Well, okay, not
yeah,
campfire.
like
What's
cozy,
chimney?
chimney,
Cozy.
cozy.
Campfires outside, a chimney's
Yes.
indoors.
I mean, around the fireplace type thing.
Fireplace. That's
Yeah,
the correct word. Wow,
hot
English is my
chocolate. You think
second
hot
language.
chocolate. You think of all that. I think in general, it's like any release that would be like now because like not only, I mean, look at the other songs that we're gonna talk about. They're not exactly Christmas songs. But I can see myself playing the Lucy track more than the other two in like a Christmas setting, like if you're with your friends or whatever, because it's like I think it just blends really well into the background, I guess. Like if
Mm.
you just had it low or whatever, like, and you're like entertaining guests or something, or if you're just like chilling, having some quiet time, you could play it and it wouldn't be like too in your face. So that's what I think of it. Like, it's not in your face, like like listen to me, but it's just like this is really interesting. When I was listening to it on Spotify, um, I don't think I could hear the strings as much as in the music video. I don't know if it's because it's really blended in with the guitar. Like if somebody were just to listen to it on Spotify, I don't think they'd be able to catch that there's a violin in there, unless you have a really good ear. Maybe I don't have a really good ear. Um, but then the music video actually does a really good job of highlighting that violin player, the violinist. And just overall, I would play it during the holidays. I would just play it, period. I'm the type that doesn't really playlist. I just press shuffle on Spotify and then just go with my liked songs or whatever. But this is a song that I would actually like go out of my way to like click play.
Nice. It's a very environment ambiance type of
Hmm.
song, regardless of the
Hmm.
time of the year. I do feel like it does fit winter quite well, but
Hmm.
maybe not necessarily holidays. I mean, I could definitely hear this in January and still feel the same kind of way. February, and then if you're trying to watch Your Name during a sad season, I feel like that pairs really well with kind of this feeling. And
Oh,
go ahead.
I also watched I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, and that one was also
Similar coming
yeah.
of age vibes.
It was no, it was sad. Like I cried.
Well, that's what anime tends to do. It pulls at your heartstrings and
Oh,
emotions,
so
in a
so bad.
myriad of ways.
Yes.
Let's quickly just touch on the other two songs this week.
Mhm.
We have NCT U's Universe. Interesting song. Interesting way it opens. I have not
Mhm.
liked NCT as an entire project very much
Mhm.
over the past year and a half. So it opened very funky. And I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like this. And then it goes into R&B, and I'm like, I
Mhm.
like this. Quite nice.
Mhm.
What are your overall thoughts and feelings about that song?
So it's a hype song, that's for sure. Like, it's got its flow. Um, but personally, when I first started hearing it, the first thing I thought of was this sounds a lot like Kick It. And I don't know if it's because the repetitive "Let's play ball" like that repeating was like very similar to like "Let me show you the dance," So I don't listen to a lot of NCT. I'll be honest. Um, if you were to look at my catalog of songs, it's mostly like I have the Seventh Sense, which apparently me and Warren have the same problem where we like to call it the Sixth Sense,
Shout
and
out
I,
Warren. Many times you call it Sixth
Warren.
Sense throughout the show today. Very nice.
No, let me tell you, I think that's a valid mistake to make. Okay, like because
When he said it,
I
I was
too
like,
have fun.
yes, 100%
Yeah, exactly.
correct.
So it wasn't just me. Okay,
And then it
so
wasn't until later I was like, wait, I
yeah,
think it's
no,
something else.
Anita was the one that corrected him. That it's the Seventh Sense, and
Yeah.
I've been corrected on the Discord too when I said Sixth Sense. I was like, yes, Seventh Sense. Yes, exactly that one. So I have like Seventh Sense, some other older stuff. So I don't really. Oh, I do have favorite. I do enjoy favorite. Favorite is a really good song. Um, they do a really good job of using the flute on that song sticker, which I can't pass that flute.
Sticker
I
is
can't get past
interesting.
it.
It
Yeah.
is an interesting ballad, as Warren would put it.
Um, so yeah, so with Universe, I felt like it sounded a lot like Kick It.
Nice.
Um, so personally for me, like I wouldn't be a repeat listener, but I do think it's a hype song. So
Yeah.
you
De-
could play it at a party.
yeah.
Get
Play
down
it in the
with it.
back, and people will get hyped. Definitely fits the SM formula for what they are known for with regards
Hmm.
to NCT. And I think that plays into the consistency that Warren was talking about,
Hmm.
where they know what modern hip hop can sound like, could sound like, should sound like, whatever qualifier you want to use. And then they do it with the NCT brand on it, which, give them credit. Like, I don't love all their
Oh
music,
yeah.
but I can say, like, that's recognizably them
Hmm.
done to a pretty high degree of quality.
For sure.
Let's move on to the last one. We have Ateez and The Real. My quick opinion about this song is
Mm.
the music video. I I needed a break from life, and I can't remember the song aside from a lot of the Oriental sounds that Warren would then highlight in the show for me today. Um, I too felt the Oriental nature of the song. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I, I always hesitate to bring that up because I'm not sure if it's me being too familiar with that sound or if it's actually the sound of the song being a little too far. But Warren would then confirm that it's a little much. Again, we have a lot of baseball and prep school theming. I think all three songs this week have a lot to do with baseball and prep school theming. But overall, kind of a song that I think is a little too much even for me. So I will have to pass. How did you feel about Ateez and The Real?
I actually liked it. Personally, I am a fan of ATs. Um, I think I liked it because I do sometimes like that loud music, like just that like yeah, let's get hype type stuff like really loud. Like Universe is hype, but this is like all right, like let's like break some stuff hype. So it's kind of like oh, I just had a song in my mind.
It turns up the chaos level
Yeah, there's like a lot of chaos,
from
and sometimes
NCT
I
is like
do
a
like
7, and then this is like a 10, 11.
yeah, yeah. So like sometimes I want some of that chaos. Like this is a good song to listen to when you're getting out of work for the weekend, and you're just like I'm ready to like let loose for the
Like a
weekend. I just
release, right? You've been cooped
yeah,
up all week, and now it's like
exactly.
I gotta escape. I gotta let my body go, my emotions
Yeah.
flare. Actually, a really positive way to spin this song, right? Because I do feel like there is a place for music like this,
Hmm.
where you know you're gonna be listening to music in a number of settings. It's just for us, like we sit on our computers or wherever we have a screen to look at something, so we give it
Hmm.
all of our attention for that 5 minutes that we have.
Hmm.
Where maybe a song like this, a music video like this, doesn't need to be consumed that way. Because I think if it is, and I'm assuming we both did the same, it comes off in a different way. Again,
Hmm.
I think the main thing that they were saying in the main show was overwhelmed, and oh,
Yeah.
that sensory overload. That was the phrase that
Hmm.
Doug used. But yeah, actually pretty cool that you liked it. And again, it goes kind of the variety of taste we have for music,
Yeah.
and I think go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. No, it like I wrote down that that kind of reminds me of their like Pirate King type stuff. Where like I don't know if it's like the Oriental noise or something like that in the back, but I don't know, I just like my mind went back to Pirate King and how they first started, and I was like, cool. And then I guess it's similar to how not everybody likes Pirate by Everglow. I think yeah. Um, and you know like because of the whole like because I'm a pirate part and you know, like it's just like booming, and I'm just like well the pirate song is like a club song, you know, it's like it's celebrating I guess women and like just letting loose, so you know so it's like any song that has that like heavy bass moving booming
Yeah,
type of
very
feel.
bombastic and in your
Yeah,
face.
like
Um,
hard, you
yeah,
know, like hard I like.
yeah, and sometimes you just need that, right? Sometimes it just needs to be
Hmm.
part of the artist's discography, right? Because
Yes.
you kind of have to look at it eventually in totality with all the other
Hmm.
songs that they've released.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's this week's music.
Mhm.
A lot of interesting things this week. I think we are moving into the last set of Spice King Soju Talk charts for the rest of the year. Just a quick
Yeah.
recap. We've got at number one, tied for number one, Chunga
Mhm.
with Killing Me, and Lucy with Rolling Rolling. Chunga has
Mhm.
not entered the Hall of Spice. Congratulations, Chunga.
Woo.
When you hear this, Chunga, make sure to hit up Doug Warren and Anita and join us on the show. We would love to have you. And then NCT, number three, NCTU, Universe as Play
Mhm.
Ball. It's fitting. I think that does make
Mhm.
sense. The Gochu Gang loves their girl groups. I do too, so
Yes.
I'm part of that. Signature and I've, right?
Okay. Yeah.
My brain looks at it and I'm
Okay.
saying it wrong. But yes, they have Chunga at one, Signature at two, and I've at three. So
Mhm.
take it for what you will. Hopefully we get some more by the end of the year. If not, we'll just kind of reset and recalibrate come January. But let's move on now to an event that's happening across the Discord server. It's very fun. We will do a larger wrap up at the end of the year, at the end of the brackets. But we have the Winter Wonder World Cup. So Warren describes it quite well on the main show. It's 16 songs put in a bracket style elimination, and they're pitted against each other in a vote across the server. All right, so we're not going to rehash the entire thing, but I did want to ask you, what did you think about it going into it? How are you sitting with it, living through it right now? And, by the end of it, we're going to have the Death Song of the Year. How did that news hit you as far as kind of a switch up to the consequence of it all?
So, going into it, I thought it was cool when it was first announced. I thought it was cool. I was like, oh, so we're doing that. Because I think I remember them doing the SojuTalk Awards last year, if I remember correctly. Like they did their own little voting. It was before I got on. But I thought that was cool that he was just like, okay, so all the power is going to be to y'all. Y'all choose which songs you think should be nominated. Then you guys will choose 8 out of those 100 and something, I think, songs that were on that list. He just took the top 16 and then put them in seeds. That's what he called them. I don't watch sports often, but I do know how a bracket works. So I thought that was cool. Currently, with the selections that are going on, I am mostly pleased, I suppose, because with this whole thing, people honestly, I am playing this for fun. Like, if there was no prize at the end, if they were just like, oh, just do this for funsies or whatever, and then you'll get like the roll. I forgot what the roll is called.
Big brain.
You get the big brain roll. Cool. But then they added like the nitro, like a free month of nitro, which that's cool too. But if it was just like the big brain roll, like I would have been down for that too. I just really like playing games. Sometimes the competition is real nice. So right now, looking at how things are moving, I'm hoping that my top 3 happens. It looks like it might. We'll see. I know that this server is heavily into the girl groups, but I kind of like that because before the server, I was more into the boy groups. I didn't. If it wasn't for the server, I probably would have never looked more into Luna than I have this entire time. Probably would have never looked into Fromis 9. So shout out to the server for educating me on Luna and Fromis 9 and Stacy. Yeah, so far I think it's cool. It's been fun. And then that whole like, this is gonna be the diss song. Yeah, I don't know, because you can't even blame one person because we're all voting. So it's just gonna be the ones that vote the number one. It's gonna be a collective blame. So you know what? As long as it's the collective blame, okay.
Yeah, I think overall it's a fun game. I think it's it's to be taken lightly. It's not that deep because a lot of it is randomized in some ways. The ties were randomized, the tie and the seedings. So it's just you bring in with it what you take in, right? So if you're bringing in with it like a lightness and a fun, then yeah, it's a total thing. But I know some people get super into it, right? And that's totally fine. If you want to live in that lane, 100%, this is how you experience and love your music. But for me, I look at these brackets, I make my votes, I have a laugh, and then I move on because it's ultimately a way to get. I think, how many people do we have voting? We have like almost 100 people voting. I feel like it's
No
about
idea.
100, right?
I haven't looked at the polls at the end to tell you like how many have voted.
Yeah, I've looked at the results here and there, and I do know we
Mm-hmm.
get up until like in the 40s, 50s. I think
Mm-hmm.
the last one got into the 60s on one side of the vote.
Excellent.
So I think we're
That's,
hovering around like 100 people
that's
voting
crazy.
per matchup, which is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Shout out to
That's
everyone doing that.
crazy.
Please keep
Yeah.
voting. Um, but yeah, I think it's just super fun to see it all shake out this way. I will say, at first when they revealed the bottom half, it was mainly boy groups and male artists, and then the last 2/3 were all female. So we're like, okay, checks out. Okay, I think we're here with this.
Yeah.
And then finally, the Death Song of the Year, is a collective selection. I think that's perfect. I think
Mhm.
it that is it's a nice way to include everyone and kind of reward everyone who's been listening in a way, and it really makes for a more engaging sense of what K-pop is, right? Because I think it's very easy to look at a lot of the lists at the end of the year that happen all the time, and then assign blame or yell at the person who created the list. When ultimately it's
Mhm.
their opinion and it's how they see the trends throughout the year. But if you have the people vote, then it's kind of just a thing, and you live with the results. And to me, I've
Exactly.
accepted it, and I'm pretty happy with my top three. I'm pretty confident. Let's just put it that way. I'm not gonna say because I don't want to jinx it yet,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I I put a little bit of thought into my top three in the
Mhm.
sense that I don't. Let me back up. I love two out of the three songs. I'm gonna select the one song that I think is going to make it by sheer virtue of how I feel like sentiment has gone for the song.
Mhm.
So if you think I'm playing mind games or anything, I just put a little bit of thought into it. Okay, I swear I
No,
didn't put too much of thought, but
you're using your smarts because
yeah,
you know like how it generally goes, how many fans there are of certain fandoms and who's actually participating, even
yeah,
though there are a lot of lurkers that are participating, but we
yeah,
love the lurkers because they're participating. It's fun.
yeah,
I do want to shout out the ones that have been creating the campaigning videos and photos, like that alone is so funny to me because it's uh, they're really good at the graphic arts though. I will say,
yeah.
will say
Props
like
to OP for
yo
starting it
OP.
out,
Yes,
and
OP
then
did a great job. Minimax did a whole video for Last Waltz. I know Doha, she did one for Hello Future. That it's so funny because like the top of it is so serious. Like it's like, oh yeah, vote for Hello Future, and then the bottom is just a smiling balloon. So it's it's just a lonely smiling balloon. It's so I don't know. I just it tickles me just to see it.
yeah,
Um, and then, oh my gosh, but Nina did, I think Nina was the one that did the one for Rock with You, but it looked like a legit, like, for your consideration Grammy poster. Like, that was phenomenal. Like, props to all those people.
yeah.
Graphic design really is their passion. It may not be mine, but it's a
Yeah,
great.
everyone's really getting to flex their creativity with it, and I feel like that again is a large part of the reason why I feel like it's very important to have things like this, the server, and
Mhm.
we're all able to interact and socialize in a number of ways that I feel like is much needed, especially during this time of the
Mhm.
year. All right, we're gonna head into some closing thoughts, and it's been a pleasure having you, but we got
Okay.
some K-pop stuff we like to go over before we head out. So
Mhm.
give us some of your favorites in K-pop that you artists that you go back to as comfort food, right? As things that help center you and ground you, and then kind of what are the messages from those songs? They can be deep, they can be literal, they can be metaphorical, that you take with you as far as the things that you get you through an everyday, especially
Mhm.
life as we know it today.
Right. Um, so I guess I would say I'm mostly boy group based. Um, but I do find that a lot of girl groups give me the serotonin boost that I didn't know I need. Like I legit like I will listen to after school and I will do the choreo with one hand. Listening to like the thing or whatever they do, of course. But Uh, I listen to mainly BTS. Like I have their whole discography on my Spotify. But then I listen to Tomorrow by Together. There's Ateez. I listen to some Stray Kids. And then sorry, she's crying. Uh, and then uh, and then most recently I have Luna's discography. From us nine. Talk and Talk really does give me like a lot of serotonin. I don't know. I know a lot of people don't like Talk and Talk because they say it sounds like. I think Warren. Somebody said on the when they went over Talk and Talk that it sounds like commercial music or something like that. Um, but I really like it. I think it's the doo 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 doos. I don't know. I think that's what it is. Like it's just very catchy, repetitive.
Very recognizable. I would say as
Yeah,
soon as you hum those two notes, my
yeah.
brain went right to the song. So, good job, Promise Nine, for you creating
Uh,
that. 'Cause, it's
but
forever stuck in my brain.
yeah, but there's also Twice. I do like listening to Twice a lot. What else? And then Lehigh. I got into Lehigh because of the server. Um, and uh, and yeah, I'm glad I found Lehigh because I really do enjoy her voice and the music that she produces. She comes out with. Um, and then there's somebody else. I lost my train of thought.
No, it's
Uh,
okay. You named a lot of really excellent artists that I feel like are very popular on the server, very recognizable. I think Promise Nine has popped off super hard this year. Well
mhm.
done. We love it. I think We Go
Yeah.
is definitely, to me,
Oh,
is a top
yeah.
song of the year in a number of ways. Whether that's the music video, whether that's just
Mhm.
excellently portraying the disco retro that I feel like we're peaking at right now, which is perfect, or peaked or have like crest over. But I
Mhm.
feel like they did it quite well. And honestly, I think Twice coming back to this version of Bubblegum, this version of
Mhm.
Characterized Twice, I think we are
Sweet.
all better for it. Not to say that their previous stuff, their more mature stuff, was bad or
Mhm.
terrible or just inaccessible. I typically like most things from
Mhm.
Twice, even if it didn't do as well as songs in the past. But I do
Mhm.
feel like there is a comfort to Scientists and the Feels and this
Mhm.
album, this 20 track album that they had, where I'm just like, oh, we're back, we're back to
Mhm.
4 years ago, and when I was just a young lad, when I was just a 60-year-old man listening to Twice.
Yes, yes.
So yes, excellent.
You still look great
Oh,
for
thank
a
you,
minute.
thank you. Well, so we have 2022 just around the
Mhm.
corner. Ellie, what are you hopeful for? Kind of moving into
Ah,
a new year, into a new phase in your life, in everyone's life, in a new phase in the world in K-pop. What are you hopeful for?
uh, more concerts, more concert dates because I would like to go to more to actual concerts where there are just thousands of people and you're all just there because of one artist. Like that's incredible to me. Just like one person or one group can bring so many different people together. Whether it's in an arena or a stadium. Um, what else am I hoping for? I am going to see Eric Nam in March. Yes, I paid that VIP price, so so I take that picture. I'm gonna show y'all.
When you take that
So
picture, when you have a conversation with them, say, "Hey,
yeah,
so Dive Studios does podcasts. Have you heard of Soju Talk?
right. I
We
should
do
pitch it. I'm gonna
podcasts
bring a sticker. I'm going
too."
to bring a sticker and give it to him. Like, we have a podcast. There's a podcast
There's a
for you to
quite
listen to
internationally well-known podcast.
for
It's
sure.
kind of the top on Spotify. I don't know if you heard about it, but you should check it out. I'm sure they'd love to have you as a guest.
Yeah, I think they would.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I'm gonna see him in March. But yeah, more concerts, more hope, just hope in general, because I know that people are. have been through a lot these past 2 years. So I would just like to see a lot more hopefulness in people. Because I know like life can suck, and we can really drag ourselves down with just our thoughts and allowing what we see out there to just like consume our minds, consume our and make us feel like really down. But I hope that we we see the silver lining, and less illness and disease,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I hope that the K-pop industry continues to grow and that there's more good music, uh, because music is great, and that's music's one of the things that brings us all together.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
Mhm.
Very kind, sentimental words of no. I think things that I think we can all strive for, whether that's through K-pop and music, or whether that's being kind to one another, because again, we don't know what anyone else is going through, right? And
Mhm.
what we see on the surface is just that. It's just what we see, and we don't
Yeah.
really know the struggles that everyone else is going through. But yeah, it's a very kind message, and I want to thank you, Ellie, for joining the show. Um,
It was a pleasure.
yeah, no, this is I mean, we're right in the middle of December, but December is funky with holidays and end of the year stuff.
Mhm.
So this it's been an honor to have you on, and you know I'm excited for the new year. I'm excited to turn the page, but I'm also reflective and appreciative of everything that's come before, whether
Mhm.
that's this past year, whether that's K-pop music over time and how that's evolved and changed. And I'm glad that you are here along with everyone for this journey. So
Thanks.
thank you.
No problem.
Yeah. All right. Let's sign out. Thank you everyone for listening to the Soju sessions on the SojuTalk Nation podcast feed. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and continue the conversation on the SojuTalk K-pop podcast Discord. For Ellie, this is Crispy, and this has been the Soju session.